Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the session on the DataJam. The DataJam is an activity that's run by a nonprofit in Pittsburgh called Pittsburgh DataWorks. And what I'm going to do today is to walk you through what the DataJam is and do this by looking at the website of Pittsburgh DataWorks because it contains a huge amount of information that's needed for high school students to participate in the DataJam. So we're here on the home page of pghdataworks.org. And if we scroll down, we'll see that the main mission of Pittsburgh DataWorks is to promote data science education for youth. And the main way that we do this is we run the DataJam. The DataJam is an annual competition among high school teams. The teams each ask a question about their community that they're particularly interested in. And then they use publicly available data sets usually, and they do data analysis. They are guided through the whole procedure of developing a research question, looking for data sets, doing the data analysis, and then figuring out what the data analysis means and developing a presentation by college students that serve as DataJam mentors. So Pittsburgh DataWorks facilitates both the getting high schools and high school students involved and the coordination with DataJam mentors at the college level. We also coordinate the training of college level DataJam mentors. Teams work throughout the academic year. We're usually recruiting teams in September and October and getting them to think about a research question they would be interested in studying. Who are the teams? The teams are usually students from a particular high school, or they can be students from something like a Boys and Girls Club that's an after-school program. It does not need to be school-based. But we generally have teams that can be as small as 3 students, but that can be as large as 10 students. I mean, we encourage schools that have quite a few students that are interested in participating to have several teams so that all the students can be really actively involved. By December, the teams submit a proposal to Pittsburgh DataWorks that says what their question is, what their hypothesis is, what data sets they'll use, and the approach that they're going to take. And then they do their data analysis from about January to March. They produce a poster and a presentation, and the DataJam finale is usually in early April. Teams get to see each other, compete, but we give a lot of awards for this. Our main mission is to really enable students to go on and get excited about data science and move forward in their lives learning more about data science. So we're here to empower high school students. We also have a curriculum that can be used in the classroom to teach some of the component parts that teams need in the DataJam. So it will teach them how to find data sets, how to organize spreadsheets, some of the data analytical process. And in all cases, we use hands-on learning tools. I recorded a separate session about the classroom activities and the modular curriculum, and I encourage you to look at this if that's something you're interested in. I'm just scrolling through the homepage now, and to bring to your attention that last year's DataJam finale was recorded, And if you're interested in getting a really broad overview of the DataJam and what some of the teams participate in, I encourage you to look at the DataJam finale. It's right here in the center of the page. The winning team from last year was invited to give their presentation a second time at PPG Industries, and they presented. Their presentation can be looked at right here. So let's go to the relevant pages for learning about the DataJam. And the most important page is under the tab DataJam. So we're just going to click on that. And what you'll see right at the top of the page is that there's an overview of the DataJam, and we have a series of videos that tell people about the DataJam. So we find that high school students really enjoy learning about things by watching a video, a lot more so than about reading about them. We suggest that you take a look at this 3-minute introduction to the DataJam. And I'm going to play that in just a minute. But we actually also have a longer introduction, a 15-minute introduction to the DataJam. This introduction is given by DataJam mentors with some questions afterwards that typically get asked when we give an introductory presentation. Just to be thorough here, we have a series of other videos that are available. So if you want to get to know this website in a quick 7 minutes guided tour, you can certainly do that by looking at the Walk Through the Pittsburgh DataWorks website. And then there are a series of videos, Data Diaries 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these videos tell about different issues that we find high school students have when they're working on their projects. All of the videos are short. They're under 10 minutes. We think they're very engaging for DataJam students, especially for high school students. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. I'm going to this page. I'm going to click on this introductory video, and we're going to watch it together for 3 minutes.
Welcome to the Pittsburgh DataJam. If you're looking to find out more about what the DataJam is, why it's important, and how you can get involved, you've come to the right place. The Pittsburgh DataJam is an annual event put on by Pittsburgh DataWorks and the University of Pittsburgh Science Outreach Program. Any high school can form a team or multiple teams of 5 to 10 students, and through the guidance of DataJam mentors from the University of Pittsburgh, use the power of big data to answer a research question of their choosing. Past projects have answered any question from what factors influence standardized test scores in Pittsburgh to the effect of social media on birth and divorce rates. After following the year-long process of choosing data sets, analyzing data, and effectively communicating their findings with help and support from DataJam mentors at every step of the way, teams will then put together a final poster presentation for the annual DataJam finale, where they'll present their hard work in front of a panel of professional data scientists. Although the results of these projects are oftentimes incredibly interesting, the real goal of the DataJam is to introduce high school students to the potential of big data and data science. Now, you've probably heard the term big data get thrown around before, but what exactly does it mean? Well, big data is really just a way to describe the incredibly vast amount of information that gets created every day in our modern world. Big data is incredibly valuable and getting used everywhere, whether it's in government, medicine, sports. Whatever field you may be interested in pursuing, there's a good chance data will be involved. People who can analyze and draw conclusions from this vast amount of information are in high demand in the job market and get paid accordingly. At the Pittsburgh DataJam, we frequently collaborate with industries at the cutting edge of data science. And past field trips have included visits to the Pittsburgh Penguins analytics team, and this past year, the Peters Township team presented their project for the PPG Industries data science team. Here's what some other people have to say about the DataJam.
I feel really good about the DataJam because I think it has something to offer every single high school student. And we've had a wide variety of high school students get involved in the DataJam. Some of them want to go on into math and statistics, computer science. They're very oriented toward data analysis. But others are really interested in understanding the big picture. And data has a lot to tell you about the world and the big picture.
Well, I think the DataJam is just a wonderful opportunity for high school students to really get involved in a professional field of data science. And it's not just a professional field, it's one of the most up and coming fields in the entire world today. So it's very important.
I think one of the best parts about the DataJam is that you get to engage with your community and address head-on problems that you see in your life, in your family's life, your friends' life. And so I think those always wind up being the best projects, the ones where it's a topic that you're really passionate about something that affects your community.
Okay, so hopefully that gave you a quick overview of the DataJam. Like I said, we have made videos like that for your students to engage them, to give a quick hint. We also have a longer 15-minute introduction. Now, I'm still on the DataJam page in the Pittsburgh DataWorks website, and I'm scrolling down, and the next thing I get to is a guide that says how to conduct a DataJam project guide. And this guide has a 1.5 page overview, but the guide itself is much longer, and you'll find the guide on the resources page. We'll talk about that in a minute. But right now, let's take a look at this quick 1.5 page overview. This overview provides a summary of the 6 steps that we believe your students will be involved in when they're doing a DataJam process. The first is to explore topics. You want your students to think about topics they're interested in and throw out these ideas. And perhaps they'll come up with one overall topic that they're most interested in. But it doesn't hurt to have a number of topics that they might be interested in, because the next step is going to be looking for data sets to help answer your question. And sometimes it's really difficult to find a data set. So having a backup question is always a good thing. What we suggest is that teachers have each student come up with a potential question, a potential topic, and write them all out, discuss it, and then rank order them in what they're most interested in. That gives them some backup choices that they can go to think about what would work. Step 2 is writing your research question. You've identified your topic, but now you need to write it as a research question. And for good research, you need to have a hypothesis of what you think happens. You then need to collect your data. And in this case, collecting data generally means finding a publicly available data set that's going to work for you. This can be the hard part. You may have a fantastic question, but you really can't find a data set that addresses that. DataJam mentors can be incredibly helpful here. They have a lot of experience looking for data sets, and they have a lot of people that they can ask help from. And so together, teams can find data sets. The 4th step is finalizing your data, taking the spreadsheet that you find and narrowing it down to the data that you really want to analyze, and cleaning the data set so you're sure that it's reliable. 5 is analyzing data. And in the DataJam projects, this often will take a couple months of students working on one kind of data analysis seeing what the results give them, trying something else. And often it's the first time they've done these type of analytical procedures. So they need help learning how to do them. Again, DataJam mentors come in handy at this point. And then step 6 is writing and interpreting your results and presenting your data. We have teams both present a poster and present a slide presentation in front of a panel of judges. So this gives you a good sense of what a DataJam project involves. Just going to go back to, again, the DataJam page and scroll down a little bit further. Below this guide is a timeline for the 21-22 DataJam, and obviously this changes every year. So in mid-August through September, we had schools that are local to the Pittsburgh area schedule DataJam presentations at their schools. But our DataJam mentors now operate through Zoom most of the time, and they're able to present presentations about the DataJam and answer questions with teams all over the place. They do not need to be in Pittsburgh, and they certainly don't need to be in Pennsylvania. And we have a number of teams participating this year that are from New York, from Massachusetts, from Ohio. So if you have students who are interested in doing this, it would be great to have them involved in the DataJam. And we can facilitate that no matter where you are. In years where we don't have problems with COVID-19, we often have a teacher workshop and a student workshop. But again, we're doing all of that virtually this year. This year, the proposals for the DataJam are due on December 17th, but we're flexible about this. Some of the teams from out of state just started participating, and they're not going to be able to get their proposals in until early January. We're fine with that. We want to know that you're a team. We want to know that you're working on something, but we will work with you to facilitate your students participating in the DataJam. From around December to mid-March, students work on DataJam projects, so they meet regularly. We also have a Slack channel. That's a Slack workspace. It's an online workspace. Students have a permission slip signed by their parents that allows us to give them access to this online workspace. Each team has a channel on the workspace, and in that channel, they can work on their project, whether they're in school or they're all home and in separate places. They could get together there and work. The other really great thing about the Slack channel is it gives them immediate access to DataJam mentors. If they have a question, they can ask a mentor, and usually mentors will respond pretty quickly to those questions. We also post all sorts of information or new resources about the DataJam on the general channels in the Slack website. So being on Slack is a way to really stay engaged in communicating about your DataJam project. In early March, posters will be due, they will be judged, and then in early April, a presentation by each team will be scheduled with a panel of 3 judges. The judges can be university professors, but most of the judges come from industry, and they themselves use big data in one way or another. And then between April and May, we schedule a DataJam finale. And this can be in person in non-COVID years, but lately we've done this completely by Zoom. Because we're starting to have teams from all over the place, we will always make the DataJam finale at least a virtual event in part. It may be that some people are in person, but a big component will always be virtual. And we'll announce winners of a large number of awards for the DataJam projects. Another component of the DataJam is that we schedule DataJam field trips. And these are field trips for high schools to go to big data companies or companies that use data. One of my favorite field trips is to the Cultural Trust. And you might think a cultural trust that runs Broadway shows, the opera, what would they be doing with big data? But in fact, they're big users of data. They collect all sorts of information about how to schedule shows, so they're scheduled at a place and a time where lots of people are going to attend. And they're very big users of data analytics. So it's a fun way for your students to get to see how data is really used in the environment. This year, because there's still concern over COVID, we are organizing virtual field trips. So your students will still get the benefit of a field trip, but they'll get to visit the company or the group that they'd like to visit via a Zoom conference. And then at the very bottom of this page is the rule book, and you can download there to get to the rule book. Let's look at the next important tab for DataJam teams. And we're going to go to the resources page. So what's on this page? Well, there are all sorts of resources that your teams need access to in order to do their DataJam project. And one of the first things on this page is that guide. Remember, there was an overview to the guide on the DataJam page. But here is the guide, and this is a fairly extensive guide. It has 10 1 to 2 page sections on various statistical programs and analytical procedures. So if your students want to learn about something very specific from a data analysis perspective, they can go to a section and they can get that information with just 1 or 2 pages. Quick, something to introduce them. The second half of the DataJam manual takes you through a mock DataJam project. The DataJam mentor that made this manual asked a research question, came up with a hypothesis and a data set, and did an entire DataJam project. And then they were able to document exactly what they did, the problems they were having, how they dealt with them. So it's a really good resource to have for your students as they're working on their projects. The next part of the resources page is called Show Me the Data. And it's a resource where your students can click and get to many useful publicly available data sets. The Western Pennsylvania Regional Data Center has about 330 publicly available data sets that have been organized, and the data has been claimed, that cover all sorts of topics about Western Pennsylvania. But if you live in a different part of the country, you may want to go to a local site that has the same kind of data. We also have a link to the US Census, a link to data.gov, a link to the cdc.gov, where you would go to get health-related information, a link to BLS, Bureau of Land Management.gov, where there is a great deal of information about resources that are available throughout the United States. And NIH, the National Institute of Health.gov. Again, lots of health-related data sets. Below this, there are several sections that have videos that teach students how to use different analytical programs that are very frequently used by DataJam teams. So the first is Google Sheets. And if you click on these buttons, you can learn different things through these videos about how to use Google Sheets for your data analysis. So this one is organizing data with pivot tables, how to make a pivot table and how to do that in Google Sheets. These videos are curated. We have had a number of students and teachers view the videos. These are the top rated videos that we have found. There's also a video on managing spreadsheets and data, or a video on making graphs in Google Sheets. Below the section on Google Sheets is an even larger section about how to use Excel. This is a very commonly used program. Again, you can learn to make pivot tables in Excel. You can manage spreadsheets. You can do correlation analysis, how to format data in Excel so that you can get it ready for Tableau. And the last section is about Tableau. Tableau Public is a freely available program that has fantastic data visualization tools in it. And so we recommend it very strongly. Again, we have a number of videos that are available to learn how to use Tableau. Let's say you want to take a look at posters or projects that students have done before. You can go to the About page in the website, and this will tell you about Pittsburgh DataWorks. It tells you what the DataJam is, what schools have participated. If you are a new school and you participate, we'll add your logo to this sheet. It tells you about DataJam mentors, and when you look at the mentors, you're going to see that they come from a very wide variety of backgrounds. We try to pair mentors with teams so that the mentor has expertise in the topic you're working on. There are members of the advisory board for Pittsburgh DataWorks. All of them do data analytics. We have our partners and our sponsors. So the partners are Pittsburgh Cyber Institute, the Allegheny Intermediate Unit that provides information through the Math and Science Collaborative to math and science high school teachers. We are now starting to collaborate with the Northeast Big Data Innovation Hub. And we have a pilot project where we are introducing the DataJam to schools in New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We're really excited to bring schools in from other areas. PPG is an industry that has a lot of data analytics and has been a big sponsor of the DataJam. We also work with universities in the area and the Pittsburgh Supercomputer Center. But once you go down below there, there's a very long section of past DataJams. And here you can see copies of a poster on a particular DataJam project. You also can see students participating, but as you scroll down, you'll run into poster after poster. So it's a really good place to go to see what other topics have high school students proposed and worked on for their DataJam project. The last tab I'm going to go to is that for the mentors. And I've said several times that college students are trained to serve as DataJam mentors. There is a whole string of mentors, and you can meet them here on this page. This is Alex Spaventa. She's a computer science and digital media major. We have Katie Grogan, who is a finance economics major. So taking the business side of things. It isn't just statistics and data science that gets involved. Here we have Taylor Malthus. She is a statistics major. We have Jacob Berkowitz, who is a math and computer science major. And we have Rowie Benelitz, who really enjoys playing the piano. He's majoring in neuroscience. So many different mentors doing different things, coming from different backgrounds. Without a doubt, you'll be able to find a mentor who's interested in the type of research project that you want to do and would be able to work with your team to provide resources. So I hope this has been a really useful introduction to the Pittsburgh DataJam. You are welcome to contact us at Pittsburgh DataJam at pghdataworks.org to ask any questions or to set up a Zoom meeting so we can have a one-on-one conversation about your school getting involved in the Pittsburgh DataJam. Thank you so much.